Comics in Quarantine Solving Problems with Stephen Allen and Erich McElroy. Starting soon. Streaming live on the internet.
And I think you said you're going to test that too.
We did test it. Yeah, it works sometimes. Starting soon. Comics in Quarantine Solving Problems with Stephen Allen and Erich McElroy. Starting soon. Doing online shows.
For much longer than I would have liked.
Suit yourself. Comics in Quarantine Solving Problems with Stephen Allen and Erich McElroy. Starting soon. From their tidied up offices.
And then I see the disinfectant.
You do not want to know what happened in there before. Comics in Quarantine Solving Problems with Stephen Allen and Erich McElroy. Starting soon. Answering the questions from
you, the people of this country.
If you email them in comics@somenews.co.uk or tweet at Mr. Stephen Allen or at Erich McElroy. Comics in Quarantine Solving Problems with Stephen Allen and Erich McElroy. Starting soon. Starting soon.
In a minute. 1 minute.
Well, maybe a bit longer than a minute, but soon. Soon. Comics in Quarantine Solving Problems with Stephen Allen and Erich McElroy. Starting soon. The web show we started because we were out of work.
And it is still true.
All right. Don't rub it in. Comics in Quarantine Solving Problems with Stephen Allen and Erich McElroy. Starting soon. Using their expertise to solve problems.
You're going to have to use medical doctors with.
Nope, just two comedians talking rubbish out of their face holes. Comics in Quarantine Solving Problems with Stephen Allen and Erich McElroy. Starting soon. Lockdown 2020, giving Stephen Allen and Erich McElroy bigger compassion, time to write.
And guts.
Hell yeah.
You've shown and are continuing to show.
Only when we stand up on webcam. Comics in Quarantine Solving Problems with Stephen Allen and Erich McElroy. Starting soon.
Sounds interesting.
Thank you. Comics in Quarantine Solving Problems with Stephen Allen and Erich McElroy. Starting soon. With Stephen Allen and Erich McElroy, who now do not have a
job.
Yep. Comics in Quarantine Solving Problems with Stephen Allen and Erich McElroy. Starting soon. Talking news and taking the mickey out of politicians.
In particular, the first Secretary of State, Dominic Raab.
Yep, definitely him. Comics in Quarantine Solving Problems with Stephen Allen and Erich McElroy. Starting soon. Shedding light on the coronavirus issues.
And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body.
It would be harder to see, though. Comics in Quarantine Solving Problems with Stephen Allen and Erich McElroy. Starting soon. Broadcasting to you
Every day.
apart from all of the days we don't broadcast, which is most of them. Comics in Quarantine Solving Problems with Stephen Allen and Erich McElroy. Starting soon.
Hello, and welcome to another Comedians in Quarantine Solving Problems. I'm Stephen Allen.
And I'm Erich McElroy. Good evening.
Welcome. In fact, you're back in our rooms, in our tidies rooms, as you may have... Oh, actually, yes, new introduction music. Hopefully you enjoyed... Because a lot of people were saying that jazz was making them want to stab themselves in the ears. So I've got different music. Also, I've added, which way is it? More copies of the books. Just in case I lean one way or another, you get to see more of the books.
Very good. Very good.
How have you been, Erich?
I'm good. I've added this time that I'm wearing my wedding suit.
Struth. When did you get married in the 70s? Look at that collar.
Very stylish.
Lordy.
To be honest, this suit cost more than my wife's wedding dress. It was a, what's his name, the designer? Paul Smith.
Noah?
Paul Smith.
Paul Smith.
Paul Smith. Yeah.
Paul Smith the first. Yeah. Paul Smith Senior. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was stylish at the time, Steve.
I'm sure it was. Hey, I'm no icon of fashion. I got the old knitted tie on the go, but wow, I'm mesmerized by the size of that collar. If you ran, I'm no expert on physics with the Bernoulli effect, but if you ran at the right angle, you could float with that.
Yeah, I mean, what's great about it is I can still fit into the shirt, but not the trousers, which is, to be fair, this is the perfect time to have this outfit. So fine on the top, nobody sees the bottom. Nice. I'm grooving this quarantine thing.
Yeah. Naked on the lower half, lovely stuff. Right, if you got, actually, I did mention on Twitter that I was getting dressed ready for this broadcast, and Cromitty said, "Jimmy Jammy Bottoms on the bottom half." I'm not going to say, but
yeah, I can say we lived together in Edinburgh this year, and I did not see you in pajama bottoms.
That's true.
I did see you in some bottoms. I want to make that clear as well. It's not that Steve was just going around commando Steve. Steve wore clothes all the time.
Yeah, thank you. That's how I do it. And Jeff sends a message saying, "Evening, Steve. Don't forget Erich. Erich's here as well. It's us too."
Yeah.
You can comment through this whole show, whichever medium you're watching it on. If you comment on there, in theory, we should see it, or you could tweet us.
Because we have become media whores, we've streamed it to so many places now. I don't know how to see where all the comments are, but we'll work on that. that's one of the problems we'll solve. But,
so any questions that you have, get them through. We'll start to answer them. But in general, what you got for us, Eric? What have you noticed?
Well, I mean, this is a question about, we're in a pandemic. Should we be worried about that? Is this a time where other things are happening that we might miss? For example, I don't know if you knew about the asteroid that is flying it's far enough away that it's going to miss us. But there's an asteroid coming towards the Earth. No one's talking about that. And the Pentagon have just declassified 3 top secret U.S. Navy videos that show unexplained aerial phenomena, unidentified flying objects. The Navy has released these saying, we don't know what they are. And we've got the tape.
Dude, this is on, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west.
Oh, look, it's the alien! Look, the alien's coming for us! Ah! Ah! See, I've done the same thing. It's right there. Can you see it? It's an alien.
Are you doubting that that's actual aliens?
To me, that looks like it's a fly that got stuck on the lens of their camera. I mean, if I didn't value my new webcam that I had to buy on a black market because all the webcams were sold in the UK, I would have stuck. It's just a fly on the screen, and those are just dudes. I mean, I've seen Top Gun. Those guys, they're not the bright. I mean, come on. I mean, those guys are drunk all the time.
Yeah.
Look at the special effects though for this. I mean, how many live streams go to this much effort? We're talking about. I broke a rubber band for this. That's quality blue tack. I colored in the alien there. Can you see?
Because actually, the trouble is you've coloured it in, and now it looks like the Earth. If you flattened it a bit, because I might be one of them. But yeah, do you actually? I was gonna say you could get yourself a replacement elastic band just by picking up ones that the postman drops. But they're not doing Saturday delivery anymore, so even that's harder. As much as it's easy to mock these pilots, these very American pilots, that is the most, like, not only are they too loud on the microphone, which I think is genetic within your people, but there's that bit where he says, oh my gosh. Yeah. If you've just spotted aliens and you think they're aliens, and the strongest swear word you can come up with is, oh my cripes, oh sweet gosh. I
think later on
to be taken.
Later on in the video, I think one of them does say dude.
Nice.
Dude, it's like aliens. But they decided to release these unclassified videos because it doesn't reveal anything sensitive or anything else. And it doesn't impinge on their basically ability to monitor airspace and that kind of thing. But, they just thought, that's fine. They just thought they'd drop these videos, but they don't know what these things are. So they're just putting them out there going, yep, there might be aliens. Deal with it.
Yeah, as if things weren't bad enough. I would mock them, but when I used to work on a radio station, they had a webcam that showed, so you could see what the weather was like outside. And I logged onto it, ready to do it's looking sunny outside, and saw this huge monster. I was like, and it was just a spider, but it was just really close to the lens. Look at that! What is that, Eric?
They have acknowledged, though, that since this incident occurred, because it's going back a few years, they've developed new guidelines for how pilots should deal with sightings of unauthorized or unidentified aircraft. And the new strategy is just to shit oneself.
Ah, good.
Yeah. But, of course, these guys, as you noticed, their language is too good, so they would just have, Captain, we are having a poo-poo up here. And that's the new code word for aliens.
If you'd have told me you were doing that joke, I would have spent the afternoon mocking up the Top Gun logo with the words Top Bum, because that's what I do in my spare time.
That's true.
Nell says hello as well. Also, we've got a Paul says, hi guys, there are plenty of aliens walking around my hometown in Notts. Yeah.
Is that somebody who voted Brexit? What kind of aliens are we talking about here?
Actually, I thought you meant actual aliens, but you could be right, just that kind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, if they are managing to probe you anally, there is no end of that sentence. It's just a really good point. Okay, we'll keep your questions coming through. If you've got any comments, we'll deal with those as well. I wanted to mention, look, I rant about this all the time. There are two main problems when it comes to coronavirus. Testing, we should be doing more testing, and PPE. Front page of the Daily Mail today. Doctors' PPE desperation. I don't know if they meant to make that look like a headline, like it kind of reads like they need a wee, but I don't think... I mean, that's no time for a I need a wee pun. Is it, Daily Mail? Ask yourself some questions. But it is the problem. I've said this before, but we said it on the video that didn't go out properly due to technology, so I'll do the same joke again. It's because we can't see the virus. That you wouldn't expect beekeepers to turn up to work without PPE because you can see the bees and you know it's a threat. No, there'll never be a situation where some beekeeper is stood there with a lady's sanitary product just over there and nothing else. And his mate's like, aren't you meant to be wearing the full... Like, yeah, we've run out, but I'll be fine. This will keep me safe. Just got a spare sanitary product lying around. And his mate will say, why have you got spare sanitary products lying around, Dave? You live on your own. Just hobby. So we do have to be careful. My theory is that we will end up having to wear more and more. Up in Scotland, the rule will be that you have to go out wearing a face mask. In England, no one's said it yet. I'm slightly worried that if they bring that rule in, I don't have any face masks. But if you watch episode 1 of these, you can find it on YouTube. I do explain how I will be turning my own pants into a face mask. Yeah. And my pants are big enough to fit my face in it, which, if you look at the size of this face, I don't know if that's the size of that chin.
Yeah, I don't know if that's saying much. Because it's basically saying you droop, at your age, you're drooping.
I've got jowls upstairs and downstairs. That's what's going on with Stevie.
Face is a ball sack.
Because it should mean people end up going outside wearing more, which would be good because that would stop the... Well, I was going to say that'll stop the sunbathers. Although, here's a picture of today's weather. Yeah, so all of a sudden, sunbathers not the problem they used to be.
No.
But there's still an issue with some people going outside not wearing enough clothes. Here's a front page from the Daily Record today. Bonkers in the bunkers. What happens in this story is that a couple were found having sex on a golf course. I don't know if you've ever had sex on a golf course.
No.
It's pretty much like having sex not on a golf course, but you do have to take the flag out the hole first. You know, before we filmed this, before we started recording, I did say to Eric, there are 2 jokes in today's show that I apologise to myself for. That's one of them.
Oh no, we have to stop the show. The aliens are attacking! Oh no!
The other one's about Kim Jong-un. We're doing it later, don't you worry. So yeah, that's a nice roundup of the headlines so far. If you would like to get any questions in, you can tweet, you can post messages. We've got some questions coming up at the end as well. Meanwhile, let's have a look. Oh yeah, some people liking the thing. What we got going on? Okay. Bras make a good face mask, says Paul.
Well, actually, I did read a scientific study, Steve, science, that one of the things you can do to add to your face mask to make it more effective is to add pantyhose to the covering, because that helps seal it in. So, although it does stretch your face down, because then you got the whole thing going on. So you do need to cut eye holes out if you're going to do that.
Right, and you'd be walking around thinking like, this is the problem with eating too much tinned fish because of lockdown, and be like, turns out it's not that.
Oh,
you should buy fresh.
That was never mind.
It's not even as bad as the one I'm doing later. So
I should say, before we go too far, if you are enjoying the show, there is the little thing at the bottom here that you can think, hey, I like these guys. I throw them a cup of coffee or a beer or something, but it's socially inappropriate for us to meet. So you can always chuck money in that tin because we are both unemployed.
Yeah, and we should say thank you very much to the people who did it last week on the show. Yes. We did better than we both expected.
Yeah, we did better in that someone actually gave us money. So that is raising our expectations. So you can do that. But I always like to keep an eye on what's happening in America. And you've watched, we've talked about them. You've watched some of the daily briefings from the President of the United States.
Love them.
And last week was a doozy. And it got to the point where Trump said that he had a briefing so bad on Thursday that he said that he wasn't going to do the briefings anymore. And basically, so this is the timeline, right? So start of Thursday was when Trump said that you should consider injecting disinfectant into your body because it's so effective at cleaning the outside of the body. It could work on the inside. I'm paraphrasing, but he basically just raised the question, could it work on the inside? Steve, you did chemistry at university?
I did, yeah.
And answer to that question is?
No.
Okay, that's all we need to say there. So Thursday he said that. It was considered a disaster for a press conference. Friday, he went out for his press conference, didn't take any questions. He loves the limelight. He loves that. Saturday, though, after getting all this negative pushback for the disinfectant disaster, he sent out a tweet. And I think we have the tweet here. And, Steve, before we go to that, I want to say, sorry, I queued it up too soon. But all this time, Trump's been president, 3 years, I've refused to come up with a Trump impression.
Yeah.
Because everybody does it. You've got one. It's not bad. You do a little Trump.
Totally. It's not great, but it gets the point across. In fact, I can just do my impression, because Italian ex-Mafia 1 sends us a message, very much channeling Trump, and the message says, "Yeah, let's drink bleach." So we're all on the same page.
Good. I've refused to develop a Trump impression because I didn't want to acknowledge him as president, and I thought those who did come up with impression was a bit hack. So
rude.
No, I just didn't want to, but I've decided, you know what, he's president, he's my president, I've cut one now, so I will read the tweet in my new Donald Trump impression voice, which we're debuting here for the very first time, so now I'm ready for the...
What is the purpose of having the White House news conference, George, when the lamestream media, George, asks nothing but hostile questions about the rabbit and then refuses to report the truth and the facts accurately, George? And then they tell the rabbit is soft and I pet the rabbit, and then the rabbit, they get the record ratings, and then the American people, like the little rabbits, get nothing but the fake news, George. Not worth the time and effort, George.
What do you think? Is that
wow?
Is it good?
Yeah, it's great. You really channeled, maybe not the tonality of Trump's voice, but you really got to the nub of the issue. Sharon says, spot on. So, yeah, well done.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Appreciate that. So basically, has a bad conference on Friday, or Thursday, refuses to answer questions on Friday, turns into Lenny from Mice and Men on Saturday. Sunday, doesn't do a briefing because it's Melania's birthday, but he didn't give Melania what she really wanted, which was a divorce. And then Monday, he says that, is that all morning the news is saying Trump's not doing the conferences, and then he does a briefing anyway. So the end of the briefings was very brief.
Indeed. Excellent. Do you know what? So much praise coming through for your Donald Trump impression.
Oh.
The bishop says that he thought that actually was Donald. Sharon wants to know if you were being sarcastic. It's difficult to tell, isn't it?
Difficult to tell. Sarcasm's a tricky one.
That's almost one of the things I was going to bring to the show. I was prepping the clip of him saying, disinfectant, maybe it'll work. And then his excuse was, because when you've said something that is so stupid, there's no going back on it. He then pretends he meant it as a joke and said he was being sarcastic. I was going to play the clip just to point out sarcasm is in the tone, and there was no whiff of sarcasm in the way he delivered it.
Maybe he didn't do it with the right voice.
Really need to be careful where I use this voice.
Yep. Oh, Paul sends us another message. He's almost getting a part on the show. The reason I'm looking over here is I've now got 4 screens around me plus a phone to try and keep up with all the messages. Paul says a vicar drank a bottle of bleach and he was arrested for bleach of the priest. I think that's nice. Good work. So thank you for all of your messages on this. What do you think about the idea of him? Do you think he genuinely believes that UV and bleach would be the way forward?
Only if it can be put inside the body. Now, this is coming from a man who has self-tanned for most of his life. So I think he just, he was riffing, is what Dr. Deborah, I forgot her last name now.
Burks? Oh,
yeah.
Well,
she said that what Donald Trump does is he just heard the information before the briefing, which is really reassuring, and that he was musing.
Yeah.
Because that's what science is, isn't it? It's just a series of like, hey man, why don't we just try it? Try it? What's the harm in trying?
And that's exactly the point. Yeah, I think if he'd have asked himself, what's the harm in telling people to put bleach inside them?
Yeah.
Then he would have answered that question. The fact that he couldn't answer the question is terrifying. So we should say, don't drink bleach. You shouldn't need to be told that, but there you go, don't drink bleach. Actually, I don't want people to drink bleach because they'll go out, they'll panic buy it, will run out, and then I won't be able to get some to actually clean my toilet. And I've only just got over all the panic buying of loo roll. What has this pandemic got against my toilet?
I can say that one of the cures for COVID-19 is donating to this show.
Maybe he's being sarcastic, maybe he's not. You can't tell through tone, so why not donate? The link's at the bottom. The bishop says Trump was being bloody serious. Thanks for all the messages. Can we make it a bit lighter? I can move on to my story about, that Stanley Tucci guy? Is that his name?
Yes, the actor. Yeah, it's not just a guy.
the great actor, everyone loves him. Devil Wears Prada, all of that business. Was he in that? I don't know, but he should have been, even if he wasn't. But he was, and he hit fame recently by doing a cocktail video. He makes a cocktail, streams the video, or uploads the video, and people love it. Celebrities making cocktails is the way forwards. It just makes this lockdown a little bit easier. So do you know what I did?
What did you do, Steve?
I made a video of me making a cocktail.
You are a celebrity.
Hello, I'm TV's Stephen Allen. You might know me as Stephen Allen. And look, there's been lots of celebrities making their own cocktails and doing how-to videos. It's a great way to help us cope with the lockdown. You may have seen the one that Stanley Tucci, famous actor and waistcoat wearer, did. I'm going to do mine. I've done some prep, so I'm going to talk you through how you can make a cocktail that I have been drinking a lot during the lockdown. I call this Sex Nowhere Near a Beach because we're not allowed. You're going to need a big tumbler because we're mixing. So, as your base spirit, you could use gin, but I prefer to go for the cleaner 3 fingers of vodka. Pour that straight in there. 3 fingers right in, etc. Now, the next level, we want to add to it a light rum. Don't use a dark rum. You do not want to overdo it with the dark spirits on this one. I didn't have any light rum in, so a little bit of extra vodka. It's all just adding to the base anyway. Next up, to give it the sharp edge that it has, you will want a sweet vermouth. You could try and use a bitter vermouth or an aloof vermouth, but I think the sweet one just ends up with a better drink. I didn't have any in because I'd finished it, so vodka. Then we're moving on to, now this is what gives the drink its colour, because, beach related. We're going to go for brandy, just gives it that kind of slightly brown edge. Couldn't get to the shops to get any, so vodka. Now, to finish this drink off, you're going to need a bitter fruit. A loganberry, a gooseberry would be great. Couldn't get any, so more vodka just to finish this off. And there we have it. Sex nowhere near a beach because we're not allowed. I'm not coping. It was a tricky week.
Cheers to that. But the trick I do is, this is a mug and it's just full of vodka.
Do you know what? Sex nowhere near a beach because we're not allowed. I didn't realise you were drinking the same cocktail as me. Oh, cool. And details of that recipe will appear online on my Twitter late at night when it shouldn't. Off you go.
That was nice. Look at that production. We're bringing production to this. This is not just any jack-offs live stream. Yeah. This is effort.
Although we do that as well on our OnlyFans.
That's a different part of Twitch. Yeah. What else have we got here? Have we got any more?
Do you want to move on to... So I think there's a story that you spotted that was to do with... there's a thing called deep fakes.
Yes.
And I only knew about these because of the... apparently, they are used to make celebrities look like they're doing things that they're not in the pornography world.
Yes, I have come across that a few times.
I'll bet you have.
Boom. Where's my mic? There we go. Yeah, so this was one. For the first time in a presidential campaign, a president of the United States has retweeted a deep fake. Now, you can guess which president of the United States I'm talking about. It wasn't Jimmy Carter.
Yeah.
Wasn't Jimmy. Wasn't H.W. Well, he's dead. Wasn't George W. Bush.
Is Ford dead?
I think Ford is still hanging in there.
I think so.
I think he's still alive.
Yeah.
But I doubt he's tweeting. But Donald Trump, he retweeted, and we've got the image he retweeted now.
Wow. Wow.
Ooh.
No wonder people don't want Joe Biden going near him. Oof.
I mean, to be fair, he has had an accusation put against him now of sexual assault, and so it looks like we're gonna have whereas. I don't know why men. I just why can't I just don't want Trump to be president anymore. So I can't. What do we have to choose? Like rapist light? What? what do we do? But for Donald Trump to embrace the idea of attacking Joe for his piccadillies, piccadillos,
piccalillies, yeah,
piccalillies, pick a person on the bum, is pretty rich considering. But what was great, though, I did love about the account, because this was a retweet that Donald Trump retweeted, and I think we've got the actual retweet here. So this was Sloppy Joe is trending. I wonder if it's because of this. You can tell it's deep fake because Jill Biden isn't covering for him. A bit harsh, but look at the name of the person who retweeted or tweeted it. It's Trump and Biden are rapey. As of this broadcast, that is still on Donald Trump's Twitter feed.
Wow. Do you think it's because Donald Trump doesn't think that's an insult?
I mean, he's kind of like, hey, I could work with this guy. We've got something in common. Or else maybe he thinks Biden's a lightweight.
Oh, yeah. He's in charge of the country you're from. How does that make you feel?
Well, I'm here in the UK where everything's going great with our leadership.
Yeah. I could do, if we've got 7 minutes left. Shall I move on to, we can deal with a little bit of Boris, actually. So he's back. Boris is back, and this is a clip. He did a speech on Downing Street just to make us all feel better. Here's a little clip of it.
If this virus were a physical assailant, an unexpected and invisible mugger, which I can tell you from personal experience it is.
It's not, though, is it? And I'll tell you why. I don't know he's been through it and I haven't, but I think actually an invisible mugger might be worse because you would get mugged and then you would have to watch your stuff float down the street. And you'd be like, my wallet is... Stop being impressed by it. Would you go after this? So that's not easy. But look, I don't want this to be the week when I'm moaning about Boris, because we can do it next week. Now that we know he's back to health, we can do all the actual Boris jokes. I do want to say he got coronavirus and he was ill with coronavirus and he fought it and now he's back to work. And do you want to know why he's back to work? It's because of all of the bleach that he uses on his hair. There's something in this bleach thing. I think we need some medical doctors to look at it. Medical doctors, though.
Yeah, that was the phrase that Trump used. What do you think if the invisible mugger was taking your stuff, it would just go away like this?
Oh, it's a monster!
I've been mugged by the invisible mugger alien. Ooh, there it goes.
Before we move on to answering more of your questions, Paul says Tom Cruise eat your heart out. That's right. I know how to make a cocktail. Bad news for both me and Eric as we move on to this terrible headline from, I got an American news site gave us this. The fact that Kim Jong-un could be dead. Now, this is bad for us because we've talked about Kim Jong-un loads. In our career, we've worked together, we've done shows on Fubar, Love Sport, we've done Edinburgh shows. And all the time, Kim Jong-un's been there for us. And he's, not a role model, but maybe a muse, because there's so much that we've been inspired by him. He was apparently addicted to cheese. That's the kind of addiction I could get on board with, yeah.
Love a cheese, yeah.
Do you know, if you are addicted to cheese, there is a patch you can get. Oh, it's just a Dairy Lee slice that you just put on your arm, but and then eat it afterwards. But, so... I think I'd be very upset if he was dead because, we won't to get doing all the jokes. An update on it is, according to a Japanese magazine, Kim Jong-un is said to be in a vegetative state. And if we take a look at him again, you can tell that's as close to a vegetable that he's been for a while. It's not even the worst joke. Ready for the worst joke? I'm going to get the stand-up mic ready for the worst joke. But then apparently he had heart surgery, which, if you've got a cheese... addiction, it can be one of the problems. According to the site, it says unconfirmed reports say that the heart surgery was botched because the doctor's hands were shaking. Didn't he know? We were told to stop shaking hands. Is this thing on? I'm here all week.
That's actually a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good. Before we go on with that, I have to say a shout out and a thank you to Joe and Jenny who have donated to the show.
Wow. Thank you very much.
Live donation.
If you'd like to donate,
can't be done.
There's the web address.
So there we go. So thank you, Jenny and Joe.
Excellent. Now, any more comments coming through? Because we do have a question from we'll check. Stephen Leatherdale says, "Is the Rose Garden going to become a fringe venue just for improv?" Because that's where Donald Trump does his speeches from sometimes. Some
of his time, you can tell he really he's got like a sort of insult comic sensibility to him, especially when he starts laying into some of the reporters there. I think if we just booked him 5 minutes at Crack Comedy, a great comedy club in Kingston when it reopens at the Grey Horse every Friday night, maybe that would solve all our problems. It's kind of like, they said if people had encouraged Hitler to be a better artist, wouldn't have had World War II. Maybe Trump, comedy club, 5 minutes at the Comedy Store. Just saying.
Yeah, I reckon Donald Trump could do stand-up comedy. I could see kind of, it's nice to be here, very nice, doing the best joke. I got the best joke. He never get around to telling a joke. I got the best jokes. What do you do for a living? I don't care. And I'd watch that.
He would be one of those comics that you see after a gig who always is like, oh man, I ripped that gig apart. I was like, I saw that gig. You died.
I totally stormed it.
I was like, no, you didn't. You tanked. That was terrible. I have had someone post on Facebook. Jim Neal has said, are we competing with the Donald Trump's press conferences? And are we giving medical advice? So, Steve, would you like to give any medical advice to...
Imagine the thing that I did earlier on where I make the cocktail, but I use Domestos instead. That would be the Donald Trump version.
That'd be that, and that's not a good choice.
No,
we're saying that. Okay, cool. We'll put it out there. Well, we're coming to the end of the show.
A couple of comments. Sharon says the one with the helicopter, the noise drowns him out. That's brilliant. There's also a question that comes through from Bishop, and he messaged earlier wanting to know if we could help him. And he says, my hair is a bloody mess. I've bought clippers to do it, but only having one pair of hands and only one mirror. How am I going to get the back looking as good as the front? YouTube has been no help at all. Every day it gets longer. Please help me solve my problems, says the Bishop on Twitter. I got some ideas on that, actually, because look, I'm a man of limited hair, as we like to be called. I'm a baldness sufferer, baldness survivor. And what I like to do, so I trim on a regular basis. I use the trimmers. When the news story came out saying that the clippers weren't available, I was laughing in your hairy faces. And if you can't do the back as well as the front because you don't have enough mirrors, eventually you could just learn to do it by touch. Use your phone, put it on camera mode, and just film it, and then watch the video.
Okay.
Or, and here's where I think I get technical, he wants to make the front look as good as the back, just mess up the front. And that way, it doesn't matter how bad you've done the back, it will look as good.
Yeah, I think that's one strategy. It's rather complex. I'm going to go with a simpler strategy, and this is because I grew up in a small logging town in Washington State, rural area in the late '80s, early '90s. And there's actually a video on my YouTube channel about that I just posted today. If you want to check it out. But one solution to that, if you're worried about the back, just go with the same haircut that a lot of the guys had back in the '89, '90. Go with a mullet. You just shave the sides and just let the back grow.
That is beautiful.
Full mullet. And shout out, Sue has just donated as well on coffee. She's bought us a couple of coffees actually. We're gonna be able to have a second cup of coffee, Steve.
Yeah, we're gonna be up all night at this rate. It's truth. I think we've sorted out all of the questions. Oh, Ford died in 2006, but his MySpace is still active, according to Stephen on Twitter.
Have you found out if we can live stream this on MySpace yet?
No, I will look that out. So we currently stream on Twitch, Mob Crush, Facebook pages and profiles, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube.
YouPorn?
Not yet.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Oh, and Daily Motion, the website that no one ever watches, but it does sound like a euphemism for a poo. So I'm going to try and see. I'm going to write this down. MySpace. We'll see if we can stream on there. Other than that, if you could donate, that would be absolutely lovely. We've got another one of these on Thursday night.
9 o'clock.
We've got our companion podcast called Comedians Aren't Essential. It's now on iTunes. I'm sure you can track it down. It's on other places as well, various players on my Some News website. Anything else that we need to plug?
No, I've got a new video on my YouTube channel, and that's the only place where I can be performing these days. So you can watch that if you want. And just join us again. Send us questions that we can solve, because I think we've solved a lot of problems today and made the world right better than most people can. And I'll see if I can find the wedding suit from my first marriage to wear on Thursday.
Brilliant. See if it's any more up to date with its fashions. Thank you very much. Send messages and stuff. Till next time. Bye.
Bye.